Welcome back to Play and Trade Guitars. I'm John, that's Zach behind the camera, and this is Play and Trade Guitars, where we play it and trade it. Checking out the brand new Fender Player II Jaguar at a price of $829. Comes in some great colors. I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about this guitar when we put it on the bench and pull it apart. Of course, we're gonna plug it in and play it. At the top, I'm going to remind you, if you're in the market for this guitar or any new gear, click to buy that new gear using our link. You'll find that pinned in the comments or down in the description. When you buy new gear using our link, you help us make these demos, and in the States, you'll get fast free shipping, easy payment plans. You can currently take 10% off anything Fender for a limited time, so check that out. We're also giving away an American-made Martin acoustic guitar when we hit 100,000 subscribers. To win that guitar, make sure you hit subscribe now if you haven't, and sign up via Glean. That's also down below. All right, let's get to work on the Fender Jaguar. Great guitar with some great modern features and upgrades as well. All right, so the Player series, the Player II now, is the only series where you'll find the Jaguar souped up in such a way that it's ultra modern without all the extra old school controls. It's just a Tele style three-way toggle. It's lost the rhythm circuit. It's lost the three controls that you'd find here, the dedicated rhythm circuit, and it's just paired back with the quintessential Jaguar pickups, which are actually very similar to Strat pickups. There's much less of a difference between Jaguar pickups and Strat pickups than there are, say, Jazzmaster pickups and Strat pickups. But these are essentially Fender single coil pickups. You can think of it that way. And then you get this great Jaguar trem. And I will tell you, coming from the Midwest, I'm fighting every ounce of my being to not call this a Jaguar, because that's what I grew up calling it. But I know I'll hear from you in the comments if I do that, so we'll stick with Jaguar. And it's just a beautiful guitar. I love this white finish. You've got this more modern 9.5-inch radius, kind of a satin feel on the back of this C-shaped modern neck. And just a beautiful looking guitar. So let's hit the bench and pull this apart before we plug it in. All right, check this out. You got the large style headstock, kind of like the 70s style Strat headstock, which I like. Fender in gold, Jaguar there on the front with this nice tinted kind of vintage gloss here. But you flip it over and you'll see the satin finish that's across the back of the maple neck here. Upgraded rosewood back on this Jaguar. Slab of rosewood here looks nice. You've got these ClassicGear vintage style slot tuners. Coming down to the body, you got that classic offset design. Jaguar and the Jazzmaster both offsets and have really a cult following and a huge amount of popularity. If you want a Jaguar with all the traditional switching, you can check out the Ventera II series, or actually the Squier Classic vibes are great too. You can also, of course, check out the slightly modified Kurt Cobain or the Johnny Marr signature. But this is going to be that more modern approach with, again, just that toggle switch. None of the extra features are switching, volume, tone, 2 single coil pickups, and that great trem. So very pared back, but very straightforward, kind of a no-nonsense approach. And I really dig that, so I like it. Let's get the strings out of the way and get some measurements. Get that late 60s, 70s style F logo on the back of the plate. I love that. You got an alder body here. We'll flip this around and pop the neck out. The biggest thing to understand about the Jaguar compared to the Jazzmaster, the Tele, or the Strat is that this is a short scale guitar. The scale length on the other three I mentioned is 25.5 inches from nut to string contact here on the bridge. This is shorter at 24 inches, so it has kind of a slinkier, shorter feel. We can pop this neck off. And looking at the radius of this neck, this is going to be a more modern 9.5-inch radius. You have the adjustable truss rod up at the top, which makes it a heck of a lot easier. Nut comes in at 1.65 inches. First fret 0.84 inches, up to a 12th of 0.87 inches. Body thickness 1.64 inches. The Jaguar trem assembly gives a really unique sound, particularly because there's basically a chambered area here. And this trem is different than a Strat trem. In fact, maybe I'll show it to you. And then here is this kind of roller bridge that sits on 2 points. It's height adjustable with an Allen wrench. It just sits in these 2 bushings in the body and kind of can rock back and forth. It's part of the charm of the Jaguar as well. Let's go ahead and lift up this faceplate. Give you a look at the inner workings of the Jaguar trem here. Flipping this over, you can see there's basically just a screw under spring tension. And moving this bar actually just physically moves this plate, and that's where you get the vibrato feel. Kind of like a Bigsby, I guess, in a way. And then this, I think, is, to me, maybe the key to the Jazzmaster tone here. Not only do you have that metallic tone coming from this big hunk of trem, but you also have this chambered sound, which I always feel like I can hear the resonance of this metal plate against this chambered hole right here. It just does something to the tone. All right, let's flip up the pickguard and take a look under the hood. So you've got the blade toggle attached to the pickguard, and then you've got the pickups actually screwed straight into the body. It looks like you can probably fit some humbuckers if you wanted to go crazy and mod this. Flip on the multimeter and get a reading on these single coil Jaguar pickups. 10.6 in bridge, 8.6 in neck, 4.7 combined. I'll give you a peek at the volume and tone too. These are actually 1 meg pots, so traditional Fender would be 250K. That'll have a noticeable difference on the tone as well. A little more open. All right, let's get a weight. 8 pounds, 9 ounces, we'll call it 8.6 pounds. Now let's flip it around. Yeah, if you're used to a traditional Jaguar layout, this is definitely a little more streamlined, isn't it? You still got that nice trim arm here. You got this 3-way telly style toggle, which is kind of cool. Volume and tone, nothing to switch up here on the left horn. And then playability, great ring to this guitar. I always feel like you can hear a bit of the resonance coming from this metal chambered plate here. Great sounding guitar unplugged. Super excited to plug it in. Remember, if you're in the market for this guitar or any other gear, do us a favor, click to buy gear using our link. Really does help us. I will plug this in now, show you clean tones, we'll dirty it up, and then I'll let it sing behind a track. On the other side, I'll give you my final score and my raw reaction. So let's get to work. Drop a comment as we go, and I'll see you on the other side. Such great quirky characteristics with the Jaguar. Sounds fantastic. You stuck with me to the end. I'm going to give you my final score. I based it on 3 main categories: overall playability, overall sound, overall value. Let's talk playability first. If you know me, I like simple controls. If you're somebody who really is into the traditional vintage Jaguar with all of the controls, I actually give the edge to this more streamlined modern approach with just the telly blade. I love that. That's a big plus in my book. I can really get behind that because I still have the classic sound from this trem unit and these pickups, which I think just works. There's also something I think that comes from the short scale. And when we talk about the playability, it does feel a little bit more scrunched. You've got to remember that this is the 1 and the 4 that has the short 24-inch scale length. So it does feel a little bit more cramped, especially if you're used to a full Fender scale length of 25.5. This one's at 24 inches. That might detract just slightly from playability, but it depends on who you are. That might be a benefit to you if you like short scale guitars. Satin feel on the neck is fantastic across this series. The satin feel of this neck and the neck shape is fantastic. Doesn't get in the way at all. This guitar came set up from the factory really well. Weight, it's maybe a tad on the heavier side. Playability, the main thing to understand is that just the quirky nature of this roller rocker bridge, the tuning stability on these is not great. It's part of the charm. You get these cool sounds from this guitar, but it is not easy to keep this guitar in tune. Just warning you. Playability, I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8.5 on overall playability. Main detractors, I'd say tuning stability. Really probably just tuning stability. When we go to sounds, knockout. I'm going to give this a very high score of 9.4 because I think these particular pickups, these Jaguar pickups, sound awesome. It really was inspiring, and it's a different bag of sounds than you're going to get from a Tele or a Strat, so definitely worth adding to your lineup. 9.4 on sound, easy decision in my book. And then when we come to overall value, at $829, it's a little more expensive than the other models in the Player II series, but like 30 bucks more. And right now you can get 10% off for a limited time. Use our link to get 10% off anything Fender. That's a great deal they got going right now. But I think it's a great value. I wish it did have a gig bag. It kind of kills me that they don't include even a gig bag with this. But they've done a nice job stepping up Player II with the rosewood slab board and all of that. I'll go ahead and give it a 9.0 on overall value because you're getting classic Jaguar tones, a little more stripped down modern approach to the playability side of it. I'm a fan. That's going to bring us to an overall score for the Player II Jaguar of 9.0, solid contender, really inspiring sounds. I had to wrestle a little bit with tuning stability. That's kind of the nature of the beast, if you will. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Jaguar and the Player II series and which guitar are you going to buy next. Remember, if you're buying any gear, click to buy gear using our link. It really does help us make these videos, and we can't thank you enough. Thank you from me, and thank you from Zach as well. All right, until next time for Playing Trade Guitars, I'm John. That's Zach behind the camera. We'll see you. Have fun playing, and see you next time.